Welcome to this edition of Head to Head. I'm your host, Cam McKinney, and this is episode number 379 of the podcast. And on this episode, I'm talking about the shocking trade that sends Micah Parsons from the Cowboys to the Green Bay Packers. Even though the negotiations between the Cowboys and Micah Parsons had gotten to a pretty contentious place, the feeling around most football fans was that the two parties would come together and form some kind of agreement on a new deal, and that was not the case as the Cowboys trade the star linebacker to none other than the Green Bay Packers for 2 first-round draft picks and defensive tackle Kenny Clark. The Packers also give Parsons his big payday in the form of a 4-year, $188 million deal, 136 of which is fully guaranteed. Parsons is the highest paid non-QB in NFL history, making $47 million a year. In 4 seasons with the Cowboys, Micah Parsons was a 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro. His 52.5 sacks in that time span is 5th most in the entire NFL. This is a huge get for the Packers. One might say their biggest trade acquisition since the late great Reggie White. Parsons is already great and is only 26 years old. Look, it's important to talk about the player in this situation because Parsons is great, but the loud conversation surrounding this trade has mainly been about the owner and general manager of the Cowboys, Jerry Jones. Most think he runs the Cowboys in a way just to get the most attention possible. I mean, what other owner allegedly tries to negotiate with a player without his agent present? There's no other figure in sports like Jerry Jones. The consensus right now is he's doing a terrible job, but he can't be fired because he owns the team. Over the years, I've always felt that Jerry Jones being the owner and general manager of the Cowboys was just a playful distraction, but now his ownership style is starting to have a real side effect. The biggest for me being that he wants to be the face of the Dallas Cowboys, and because of that, the best coaches in the league are not coaching the Cowboys. The head coach of the Cowboys is currently Brian Schottenheimer, and yes, maybe he's good, but he's the coach of the Cowboys because Jones wants all of the power, and it's really been that way since Bill Parcells. I mean, think about the head coaches of the Dallas Cowboys. You have Jason Garrett. Mike McCarthy is a good head coach, but still was willing to play second fiddle to Jerry Jones and all of his nonsense. I also believe there's a weird, strange thing happening with Jerry Jones where people will defend him by saying what he is doing is actually good for the NFL because he's one of the reasons they are the most talked about league in all of sports. I mean, he is making content for all of these people like myself to talk about. I mean, he's doing interviews right now with Stephen A. Smith. He is in the spotlight. One could say he treats the Dallas Cowboys like it's a reality show, and because of that, people are invested. ESPN is always talking about the Dallas Cowboys, and a lot of that has to do with Jerry Jones and the way that he's willing to talk about any topic that has to do with the Dallas Cowboys. He doesn't care about the players' feelings. He's going to make his opinions known to the public. And I get all of that, but I don't think the NFL is the NFL right now because Jerry Jones is a loud person. I don't think that many people actually care. I get why ESPN cares because it gives them something to talk about. I get it why the rest of the media also cares because there's no other owner like Jerry Jones. Usually the owner is just the quiet guy spending all of the money. I would argue what would be better for the sport of football overall if the Cowboys were the Cowboys of old, the gold standard of the league, if they were one of the best teams in football and kept players like Micah Parsons on the roster and surrounded Dak Prescott, who I believe to be one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the NFL, with a lot of talent around him in order to compete for Super Bowl titles. I mean, before this trade, did I view the Dallas Cowboys as Super Bowl contenders? Absolutely not. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs, but that's also because of Jerry Jones and the moves he's made around this roster, and also his unwillingness to spend a lot of money on a good head coach. I think it would be great for, say, the Jacksonville Jaguars to have an owner like Jerry Jones who makes us talk about them all of the time, because that's an NFL franchise that gets ignored. But the Dallas Cowboys do not need Jerry Jones to remain relevant. What they need is to put a good product on the field, and I don't think that's going to be the case this upcoming NFL season. I'm surprised things played out this way between Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons, because recently Jones paid Dak Prescott, Trevon Diggs, and CeeDee Lamb. It's my belief that Jerry Jones wanted to keep Micah Parsons, but played out the negotiations for entertainment purposes, which has come back to bite him, because Parsons, rightfully so, wasn't willing to play the game. So this is the problem with Jerry Jones, is he seemingly cares more about being relevant and in the spotlight ahead of winning football games. There's no world where you could convince me that Jerry Jones wanted to trade away Micah Parsons, that this is a football move. This has to do with the fact that he wanted to wait out these negotiations to make it the center of the football world. He definitely wanted a few more weeks of us talking about the situation and whether or not Micah Parsons would ever come to an agreement with the Dallas Cowboys. The other way of looking at the situation is this, that Jerry Jones knew this was all he had coming into this NFL season. This was going to be what people were going to talk about when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, is the contract negotiations of one Micah Parsons. I'm not alone here. I believe Jerry Jones lost these negotiations because all along he thought that Micah Parsons wanted to be a member of the Cowboys ahead of anything else, and really all he wanted is what most players want, to be paid and to be quietly paid and go back to playing football. I mean, really, Cowboys players must be sick and tired of the whole will he pay me, won't he pay me thing. Looking at a situation like this, it's always interesting to think about what you as a sports fan want from an owner of a team. Do you want them to have full passion? Do you want them to be heavily involved? Or do you want the quiet guy in the background? And I really want that guy. I just want the guy who owns the team to put up the money and let the people run the team. Let the general manager make the moves. Let the head coach be the face of the franchise. Don't meddle unless it's an extreme situation. The real problem with Jerry Jones is he has made himself the default fall guy of the Dallas Cowboys. No matter what happens, I don't know if he's the only one who wanted to trade away Micah Parsons. I have no idea, but we all believe that because we all believe this is all about Jerry Jones. And even if there are others involved, it's his fault because he is the owner and the general manager. This is the other thing that I find wild about this trade, is he actually believes he's going to get people on his side. It's like, Jerry, you haven't won a Super Bowl since the 90s. Cowboys fans want to win, and they don't think getting rid of their best players is going to get them there. This, at the moment, and rightfully so, is being viewed as a very one-sided trade. Everyone is on the side of the Packers and against the Cowboys. One NFL pundit is giving the other side of things when it comes to Jerry Jones. Peter Schrager of ESPN tweeted this: "Were Cowboys winning the Super Bowl this year? Did they win big with Micah Parsons? Jerry is rolling the dice because he didn't want to pay Micah and because he can. Go ask other GMs if they'd take 2 first-rounders, Clark, and $47 million for Guy. You'd be surprised how many say yes." Schrager also tweeted, "Fact is, Jerry Jones being the owner and GM gives him the ability to think long-term and not feel the pressure of his job hanging in balance. Another GM is immediately on hot seat if this doesn't work. Jerry as GM can make a decision without that factor or concern of his job." And I get where he's coming from here, but comparing Jerry Jones to other figures in sports is a lost cause because there is no one else like Jerry Jones who has the security that he has because he is the owner and general manager of the team. And I also disagree with this idea that Jerry Jones is thinking long term. I believe more than anyone else, he is thinking about the moment because he wants the Cowboys to be constantly in the spotlight. He wants ESPN to be talking about him and the Cowboys 24/7, so he made this trade happen. Absolutely nothing about the current construction of the Dallas Cowboys roster says anything about a long-term plan. They currently have Dak Prescott as their quarterback, a guy who's already in his 30s. His chances of winning a Super Bowl are dwindling by the day. I also take real issue with people saying that this trade isn't that bad because Micah Parsons isn't, say, a quarterback or a wide receiver. I know that those have become the two most dominant positions in the NFL, and those are the guys people would trade their entire teams for. But trading away Micah Parsons for absolutely no reason is unforgivable. Yes, having one great defensive player does not get you to a Super Bowl title, but he's a huge part of the equation. And getting 2 first-rounders from the Green Bay Packers who are going to be a good team, I mean, what is that going to do for you anyway? So back in the day, Jerry Jones was part of a huge trade that ended up working in his favor when the Cowboys traded away star running back Herschel Walker and brought back 6 first-round draft picks, one of which became the great Emmitt Smith. I think if you want to be a big optimist when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, you could say that the Cowboys are in a somewhat similar situation in that nobody believes right now they were really going anywhere. I mean, I don't think the Dallas Cowboys were a playoff team to start with. The difference here is, of course, they're only getting 2 first-rounders, and they traded him away to the Green Bay Packers, who are already a good football team and now have a chance of becoming a great one. And that Cowboys team had Jimmy Johnson after they traded away Herschel Walker, so you knew that the ship was going to turn in the Cowboys' favor because they had a great coach. No offense to Brian Schottenheimer, I don't believe they have a great coach right now. And that gets me to the crux of the Jerry Jones situation, is he is the one creating all of these distractions. I mean, if Brian Schottenheimer were truly the guy in power and a player like Micah Parsons was the one creating the distraction, that's an easily solvable situation. You just get rid of the player and you move on. But when the distraction is coming from your boss, the owner himself, there's nothing you can do. That's why I do feel bad for Brian Schottenheimer, because he's in an unwinnable situation. Either he proves everyone wrong and becomes one of the best head coaches in the league, or he's stuck in a situation with Jerry Jones creating absolute mayhem around him. The battle for the last team in the NFC East is going to be between the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants, because Washington is going to be very good. They have Jaden Daniels, and then of course you have the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles. There is a small part of me that when I see a trade like this go down from Jerry Jones, I do think that the NFL should step in and say, you should not be running the team and being the owner. But what are they going to do? I mean, Roger Goodell became the commissioner when Jerry Jones was already doing this. He's been grandfathered in. And I do believe there will never be another Jerry Jones-like figure in the NFL. There's never going to be an owner who names himself general manager ever again. And if they did, I would hope that the NFL would intervene and say, we really don't want to go through this again, because I don't actually think it's good for business that the owner of the Dallas Cowboys is the general manager of the Cowboys. And I'll say this again, the perception may be wider than the actual reality. I mean, we all believe that Jerry Jones is just a madman doing this all by himself because he wants you to believe that, yes, he has underlings, but we all believe that they're probably yes men. I know there are people out there who have always thought that Jerry Jones was a problem in the NFL. I have not always held that belief. I just thought, again, that he was a playful distraction, that nothing he was doing doing really mattered. But now he is actually impacting the football team in a way that I find unforgivable. For instance, bringing in Terrell Owens, who is a clear distraction, made sense to me because he also happens to be an elite football player. So when Bill Parcells says I don't want Terrell Owens and then Jerry Jones brings him in anyway, I understand that because it made sense to me football-wise. Trading away Micah Parsons makes zero sense. Just because you didn't want to negotiate with his agent and just because you had a handshake agreement is absolutely nuts. And now he has to backtrack and say things like, I'm thinking about the long term here and what's best for the Dallas Cowboys. No, you're only thinking about what's best for Jerry Jones. And the sad thing is, that is what's best for the Dallas Cowboys, and that's the problem. This whole Jerry's way or the highway thing has to end at some point. I do wonder if sports fans tire of the Dallas Cowboys and the endless conversations about them because they haven't won a Super Bowl in decades now. They're not as relevant as they used to be, yet ESPN continues to talk about them. I mean, year in and year out, there are two teams that the ESPN fixates on. In basketball, it's the Lakers, and in football, it's the Dallas Cowboys. And I understand it to a certain degree. These are iconic franchises. What's going on with them does matter in the grand scheme of things. But to dedicate hours and hours of television on teams that are not constantly winning is a problem for me. And even in a situation like this, and I'm doing it, I'm talking more about the Dallas Cowboys than I am about the Green Bay Packers, who are being given a gift in the best defensive player in all of football, Micah Parsons, falling into their laps. That's what is happening here. The sad reality is Micah Parsons is not a member of the Dallas Cowboys because he didn't want to be a member of the Cowboys anymore. He just didn't want to deal with Jerry Jones. In the end, I really don't believe this was about the money. I do think that Jerry Jones is willing to pony up money for a player that he believes in. It's more about this weird situation between the agent and this handshake agreement that he thought he had with him and Micah Parsons. I keep going back to this. Dak Prescott is 32 years old. He should be playing in a window where he has real opportunities to win a Super Bowl, and sadly that's not the case. And I know that these two quarterbacks are not two of the greatest in NFL history, but I think we could all agree that maybe the Cowboys should have at least one Super Bowl between Tony Romo and Dak Prescott. I mean, the Baltimore Ravens won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco, and the Cowboys can't with Tony Romo and Dak Prescott. There have been far lesser quarterbacks to win Super Bowls than those two. To close the books on things, I just believe that Jerry Jones is becoming the worst version of himself as a leader of a football team as the years go on. And I felt the exact same way about Bill Belichick at the end of his tenure with the New England Patriots. Like, everything that bothered me about Bill Belichick grew tenfold at the end of his run with the Patriots. Like, he just became an extreme, almost cartoonish version of himself. And I feel the exact same thing is happening with Jerry Jones. And what those two have in common is this. It became all about them in the end. It no longer was about the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick. It just became about Bill Belichick. And for the Cowboys, it's no longer about the team, the Dallas Cowboys. It's all about Jerry Jones. And I don't believe that's good for business. I don't believe that's good for the NFL. And ultimately, I don't believe that's good for the legacy of Jerry Jones, who overall I do believe has been a decent owner of the Dallas Cowboys. This is a huge victory for Micah Parsons. Not only does he get paid, but he is going to a very good football team with a chance of winning a Super Bowl. I mean, he wasn't sent away to a team like the Jaguars and given a boatload of money. No, he is getting everything here. A chance to win and the huge payday that he wanted. I've given all my opinions on this trade, but time will tell how we feel about this. In 5 years, maybe Cowboys fans will feel better. Maybe Jerry Jones does have a grand vision of where things are going. Maybe Micah Parsons isn't as great as we all think he is. But in the moment, it really does does feel like we can all tell where this is headed with Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, and it's not a very good place. In my eyes and in the eyes of many, he is not making the best decisions when it comes to the actual football team. Micah Parsons didn't reject the Dallas Cowboys, he rejected Jerry Jones. Thanks for listening to this edition of Head to Head. I'm Cam McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast every Monday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so please rate, review, and subscribe.